My name is Alan Hudson. I work for Global Integrity. We are a small non-governmental organisation based in Washington DC at the Open Gov Hub. Our focus is on governance and anti-corruption with data a strong element in our toolbox. How has our use of open data changed? Interesting question. I wouldn't say that we have been or are a big user of open data, but I can say a little bit about how our relationship, about what we do in relation to open data has evolved over the last 10 years. So 10 years ago, we as an organisation, this was before I was the Executive Director, so when Nathaniel Heller was the Executive Director of Global Integrity, the focus of the organisation was on measuring different aspects of governance and generating data through that measurement process, and then thinking and hoping that somebody might use that data, that policymakers and campaigners might use that data to design and implement more effective governance. So that was the approach that the organisation was taking 10 years ago. In the last 3 or 4 years, the organisation's focus has evolved and shifted somewhat to be less about generating data and more about supporting local partners in countries around the world to address particular sectoral and service delivery problems using data, including open data. That's a great question. There are many conversations that we're having about data that are pretty similar to conversations about data that were happening 5 years ago. I've been to a number of these events, similar events. This is only my second IODC, but I've been to various open knowledge festivals, many open government partnership summits and regional meetings. And the conversations do move on and do evolve a bit. They evolve fairly slowly, although in encouraging directions. Over the last, so I wouldn't say, I'm not sure I can identify conversations that need to stop, although I will try in a minute, but conversations that there needs to be more forward progress with. There has been an increased emphasis over the last few years, this is very welcome, on the use of data and open data to address particular problems, and starting with problems rather than starting with data and then working out what it might be useful for. There's also been increased emphasis on engaging with the political dynamics and incentives around problems and using data to help to do that. And there's also been increasing emphasis on putting users first. And I think these are all very welcome developments, but they've slightly been going round and round in circles, and there have been a number. This event this week has been wonderful. It's been really great. I've learned a lot, met some amazing new people. But there's still quite a lot of rehearsing and repeating of those statements. Start with problems, put users at the centre, take seriously the political dynamics. Those things are all really important, but what does that mean in practice? What does that look like in practice? And also, I think some of the ways in which those statements get asserted and propounded sometimes dodge some of the issues. So, for instance, yes, put users first and put problems first, but who decides on which problems and which users should be prioritised? That is a kind of question about power and politics. And simply saying, let's put problems and users first, risks dodging the political, with a lowercase p, the political and power-related issues of who chooses the topic, who prioritises problems and who prioritises users. I think a conversation that does need to stop, and I think has stopped really, is a naive view, a naive theory of change really, that data and transparency will fairly easily lead to better, more effective participation, stronger accountability, and more desirable development outcomes. That naive theory of change is falling away. That is very good. It is very good that that is falling away. So I'm pleased about that. Well, I mean, in some ways, the things that I've been mentioning, I think it's wonderful and also about time that the open data and open government agenda focused more on particular problems, the politics and the incentives around those political problems, and the ways in which people can use data to address those problems. I'm delighted that the agenda is evolving in those ways. And then secondly, the renewed optimism that I almost always get from coming to this sort of event is just by meeting the many amazing people from around the world working in challenging contexts, challenging political contexts, challenging data landscapes, who work with creativity, determination, passion and solidarity to try to leverage the power of open data to address problems that people care about.